Okay, so today we're going to learn how to solve absolute value inequalities. Yesterday we spent talking about absolute value equations, right? So we're pretty much going to be dealing with the same exact thing. We're still going to be isolating that absolute value. We're still going to be making two separate, instead of equations, inequalities. So that whole thing is going to work the same way. We just have to remember a couple of our inequality rules, okay? What happens when you multiply or divide by a negative when we're dealing with an inequality? Think back 8th grade. Go ahead. Yeah, we have to switch that sign. Excellent. Okay, so when I multiply or divide by a negative, that inequality sign flips for us. So let's think about how we solve absolute value equations. We wind up setting up how many equations? 2. And what do we do with the second one? We make it negative or make it positive, depending on what it is. We switch the sign. So when we're dealing with this with inequalities, we're still going to do that same exact thing, but we have to add on one additional step. What else are we going to switch? Want to guess? The sign, the inequality, okay? So it's going to work the same exact way, except we have that little added step. Are you ready to try one? Awesome. Next page. All right, so I have the absolute value of 3x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. Now, is the absolute value isolated? Speak up. Yeah, absolutely. So I can go to my next step, right? My next step, if this was an equation, would be to set up two equations. So my next step is going to be set up two inequalities, okay? So my first one, written exactly the same way I see it, except without my absolute value sign, okay? And my second one, who wants to give it a shot? Awesome. 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to negative 12. So what did I switch here? The sign and the sign, I guess, right? So it went from a positive 12 to a negative 12, and I switched my inequality. Are we okay? Okay, so what would be my next step in solving these? Subtract 6 from both sides. Good. So over here I get 3x is greater than or equal to 6. And over here I get 3x is less than or equal to negative 18. Are we okay here? All right. Now what? Good. Divide by 3. So I get x is greater than or equal to 2. And x is less than or equal to negative 6. Excellent. Okay, so now my last step here is, well, I guess I have two steps. I need to figure out how I write my solution, okay? The easiest way to determine how to write your solution is to first graph this on a number line. You guys remember how to graph things on a number line? Well, you're going to remember now. Okay, so we've got a number line, right? And my smaller number, which is negative 6, is going to go over here. My bigger number, which is going to go over here. And I'm going to throw the 0 in here just for the heck of it. Okay. Am I going to have open or closed circles here? Closed. Very good. That equal sign means we're going to include it. So we are going to close those. Okay. X has got to be greater than or equal to 2. Which way do I go? Right or left? Right. Greater than, right? Everything that's bigger than it. Good. And x is less than or equal to negative 6. Left or right? Left. Okay, does anybody remember what this is called when they go away from each other? It starts with a D. Disjunction. Do you remember that? Well, now you do, right? You're going to know this is a disjunction. If they're going away from each other, it's a disjunction. If they're coming in, conjunction, okay? So this is going to help us to decide how this is written. If they're going away from each other, we take these two answers and we write an or in between it. So x is less than or negative 6, or x is greater than or equal to 2. There's your answer. If they were going in towards one another, which we're going to see, I think, in the next example, then we're going to write this inequality as 1, which we'll show you next. Okay. When these are going away from each other, it's or. When they're going in towards each other, the conjunction, it's an and we write it as 1 inequality. And we'll show you that after. Okay? How do we do? Okay? Problems, questions, concerns? Can I move on? Good? Okay. Next page. Okay. Is it isolated? Absolutely. What can I do next? Good. So go ahead, set up your two inequalities. Get your solutions, graph them out, and then we'll talk. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to do this. Let's go with it. Okay, so already isolated? Yes, no? Yeah. So you should have 2x minus 3 is greater than 7, and 2x minus 3 is less than negative 7. Do we agree? Awesome. First step. Good. 2x is greater than 10. 2x is less than negative 4. Are we good? Now what? Divide by 2. X is greater than 5. X is less than negative 2. I divided by a positive 2, so I don't flip that sign. Okay? We okay with that? All right, let's talk about how to graph it. There's my 5. There's my negative 2. I'll throw in a 0. Open or closed? Open. Excellent. Greater than 5. Right or left? Less than negative 2. Conjunction, disjunction. Here's your or. You're done. Doing okay? Great. Let's get a little bit harder. So these ones have been nice. All of the absolute values have been isolated for us, right? Said it was going to happen? No. Sorry. So a little bit more difficult here. Now I have my absolute value inequality, but I have some other junk around it, right? Do I want it there? I need to remove it, right? So when I'm solving these absolute value inequalities, I'm using order of operations backwards, right? So what am I going to move first? Careful. That negative 9. Order of operations backwards, SADMAP. Subtraction goes first, right? How am I going to move that 9 over? Add it over. Good. Which gives me 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 6 is less than 24. Are we okay with that? Okay, now what do I need to remove? Great, I'm going to divide both sides by that 3. So absolute value of 2x plus 6 is less than 8. Great. We doing okay? Okay, now what? Set up two inequalities. Good. So you've got your original and your negated. We okay? All right, now what? Great, subtract 6 both sides. 2x is less than 2. 2x is greater than negative 14. If you need me to show that step, tell me. Okay, I know I'm skipping the step of showing the addition, or the subtraction, I'm sorry. Are we okay? Columbo, are you okay? All right. Now what? 5 by 2. X is less than 1. X is greater than negative 7. Absolutely. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so the next step, and this is my number line, right? So, open or closed? Open, great. So here's my negative 7. Here's my 1. I'll throw the 0 in there. I always like to have kind of a point to center me. We said open, right? Okay. X is greater than negative 7. To the right or left? X is less than 1. Left. So what happens is we have everything in between them. This is called a conjunction. Awesome. Okay, so conjunctions are written a little bit differently. We write it as one inequality. So here's how this is going to be written. I'm going to write it up here so you guys can see it. Okay. What's the smaller number? What's the variable being used? What's the bigger number? We want everything in between it, right? X is less than 1. X is greater than 7. Notice the signs are pointing in the same direction? Okay, so notice here, it was eating the 1, like Pac-Man eating the 1. You guys know what Pac-Man is? Okay, I just dated myself. And over here, it's eating the X. Is it still eating the X up here? Is it still eating the 1 up here? We're good. So there's your conjunction. It's written as 1. Disjunction's written as 2. Good? Great. Okay, so give this one a shot, and we'll go over it in a moment. All right, so what is my first step here? Add the 7. Good. Add the 7. So absolute value of 5z plus 3 is going to be less than. Great. Next step. Good. 2 inequalities. 5z plus 3 is less than 41. 5z plus 3 is greater than negative 41. Great. Okay. Great. 5z is less than, thank you, 5z is greater than negative 44. Right? Watch your signs there. Okay. Now what? Great. Z is less than 38 fifths. We're dividing by 5. Z is greater than negative 44 fifths. Which one's your smaller number? Yeah, always the negative, right? Okay, so let's throw this on the number line. Are we open or closed? Great. Negative 44 fifths and 38 fifths. 38 fifths is just a little more than 7. Give you a kind of an idea of where we are. Okay, we're open on both. Z is less than 38 fifths. Which way? Left. Good. Greater than negative 44 fifths? Right. So we're talking about everything in between, right? So what is this called again? Conjunction. We're going to write it as how many inequalities? 1, right? So we start with our smaller number, negative 44 fifths. It's going to eat the Z and 38 fifths. You okay with that? Okay. Let's try the next one. Let's go ahead and give that one a shot. And this one's an equation. It's not an inequality. So it's kind of just a reminder of what we did last time. Make sure you tie it all together. Now remember, with equations, when we were done, what did we have to do? We had to check. Why did we check? What were we looking for? The solutions. What kind of solutions were we checking to make sure they didn't have? No, we were fine with negative. Starts with an E, a special word. Extraneous solutions, the ones we reject, the ones that didn't check, right? So with equations, we always check the solutions to look for those extraneous solutions. With inequalities, we don't. Okay, so go ahead and give that a shot. Okay, first step, guys. Subtract 5. Good, and you get what? Okay, now what? Divide both sides by 2. Good. So we get the absolute value of 3x plus 1 equals 14. Great. 3x plus 1 equals 14. 3x plus 1 equals negative 14. Subtract 1. Good. 3x equals 13. 3x equals negative 15. Did you mess that up? Negative 13? Oh, I wrote it wrong. All the way up there? Son of a gun. Redo. I got an F. I need to slow down. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we are going to still subtract the 5 and still divide by 2. So we're still looking like that. Okay. So we're still setting up our 2 equations. All right, now we're on the right track. Okay, thank you. Add 1. Divide both sides by 3. Good, you get x equals 5 and x equals negative 13 thirds. Did they both check? Okay, so my solution set is negative 13 thirds and 5. No, technically it doesn't. Usually, common practice is to put the smaller number first. Okay? All right, good. So your homework is to finish page 2, number 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 4 problems. And your weekly project is going to be due Monday. You haven't learned that stuff on there yet. You're going to learn it tomorrow and the next day. Okay, so just hold off on that. All right.